Hello and welcome to another episode of ViTAC University. You've bought the best kit on the market. Now let's make sure that you know how to use it. Here we go.
Let's go.
All right, guys, today we're going to be going through our various gauzes. Now your kit may have one, two, or all of these gauzes. The first ones that we'll start with are in all of our kits, and then you guys can either fast forward, watch that just for good general knowledge, or watch all of them. So let's jump into it, Sterling. What do you got?
So this is the 4x4 gauze pad. This is the most basic gauze you get. It's in every kit. It's simple, it's very, very porous, but it's good for absorbing wounds. So all you gotta do is open it up, tear it. You're gonna wanna either have gloves on, or if you're in an emergency, you don't need gloves, just try to keep your fingers away from the area you're gonna actually put into the wound. So if Lindsay's hands cut, arms cut, something like that, I'm just gonna kind of pile it on. I can fold it into here, and then I can strap it down with either Coban. I can otherwise use tape, strap it down, something like that, just to help absorb the blood. That's basically it for a 4x4. That's a nice, simple thing.
Sure, and then as we look at the non-adherent pad, and this kind of touches on a point that Sterling was just making as you look at either piling it or folding it. A lot of this can be size dependent. So as you have a particular size cut, you can open your pack. If you have all of these, then you can say, hey, the non-adherent pad sizes could be potentially better than the 4x4. So same thing, it has instructions on it, so it may be a little far away for you guys to read that, but it says peel to open. You wanna do that because you don't really wanna rip the pad. So same thing, for me, I'm going to take it out by the corner. Really what we're looking at is germ considerations. That's why Sterling said put on gloves. If you're out in a field environment, wherever you may be, you may have really dirty hands. We never wanna get that material into the wound. So same thing, I'm going to judge the wound size. We're just gonna use forearms for this demonstration because it's easy in our little studio here. I can fold it if it's a little smaller. I can keep it long and give ourselves good coverage. And then I'm either using my ace wrap, my conforming gauze we'll touch on next, and something to adhere it down. Is there any kind of wound preparation that you'd want to touch on with these? Just as kind of a use case?
Yeah, so for the most part, we do include in some of the kits bottles of eye wash and things like that. You can use some of that to actually rinse out the wound. You can use water from a water bottle, things like that too. But then we also do have a couple of the towelettes that Lindsay just grabbed here. One of them is in the green, is the Castile soap towelette. This one is just basically a nice little soap towelette. You can use it to wash your hands. You can use it to wash around the wound and in the wound too real quick.
And then the antiseptic?
Yeah, then you got the BZK antiseptic. If you are in an area that is a little dirtier, or if you're more worried about an infection, you can of course use this. Doctors are gonna say it's good practice to use it every time, right? But you make the call on what you wanna use, but that again, it comes in a regular little towelette. Just rub it on. None of it really stings too bad either, so that's kind of the nice things for kids. They're not gonna be screaming about spraying alcohol on their cuts and stuff. All right?
Yeah, I like it. Now, real quick before we roll into the next one, what is your personal opinion? Mine is that these aren't absolutely necessary. I care about stopping the bleed, and all of this is for getting us to the next level of care. We can clean it out in a little while. What is your opinion on that?
Yeah, if you are the only level of care, I think then, yeah, use them just to be on the safe side, but I don't use them very often either. So, and that's the thing, is it really depends on what you're doing. If you are planning on going to the next level of care, like you said, the most important thing is to stop the bleed. That's what kills the most people. So stop the bleed is of the primary. So if you got a real bad bleed, don't worry about this. Get to your gauzes, get to something that's actually gonna plug that hole up and stop the bleed, because that is the most important thing. So
I love it. The last in the series of gauze pads is going to be our extra absorbent large pad. Just to recap, you can really judge your use of these based on, well, one, what you have. We're in the home advanced kit right now, so it has everything. So your kids are running around being little maniacs, any kind of level cut that they can get themselves into, you're gonna be covered. But same thing, opening it from the top, keeping your fingers out of the main area, and you can see as this opens, it opens very large. This has a lot of material to it. Same principle of application applies. Get it down to the size that you want, whether you're stuffing into it or you're just padding on the top, and it'll be the same thing. So we'll go forearm, and we're covering our wound there. Now, as we've touched on all three of these, we're going to touch on one of the primary ways that you can use to hold this in place as you're getting to that next level of care. So the conforming gauze is pretty cool. It's almost like a ace bandage. It is a gauze product, but it's meant for getting around joints or non-standard kind of, what term would I use? You know, it's where it's just not like a straight surface.
Yeah.
You know, so you can use it for wrists, knees, ankles, things of that nature. In this particular case, we'll use it for just flat bandage. So for me, I'm gonna start at one end, just overlapping a little bit. This will help keep material from getting in the edges, and you can just keep it in your hand, get a little finger on there, and then we're just wrapping around. This is just your primary mechanism of blood absorption or material absorption is the pad. It's not this wrap. This wrap is just to hold it in place. And that's why I started below. Now the pad can't slide one way or the other. So I'm just gonna overlap about a half at a time. Now this will not stick to each other. So I'll get to wherever I hit at the end, and I was not prepared with my shears.
You can either shear it or really,
Yeah.
you can even just go around and tuck it. That's what I do, is just fold it and then tuck it into wherever.
Yeah.
Create one extra spot where you can just tuck it in. That's good enough to get you to the next level of care, like Lindsay said. And you got to remember, after you get this pad on, you're not done. You just got something that will help absorb the blood so blood doesn't keep dripping off of your wound, right? You still need to apply your manual pressure. You still need to dress the wound as best you can. Like, this is a well-dressed wound. When you go to the hospital, they're going to be like, okay, very nice. But make sure you are still holding the pressure down to actually prevent and stop the bleeding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something for me that I like is if it is a smaller wound and you have a larger pad, when you do fold it over on top of each other, it raises that profile. So even when you have this type with the conforming gauze, as it wraps over that larger lump, it's going to pull it down into the wound and put some of that additional pressure on it,
Absolutely.
Which is something that I like.
Yeah, great point.
So that's going to be our gauzes and our pads, and we'll see you on the next one.